Death is the only truly certain part of life, but its timing? That always stays hidden in mystery. Many people wonder how long they have left. Some turn to fortune tellers, others to AI or genetic testing. But can anyone really predict the exact day they'll die? In this video, we're not talking about theories. We're diving into 3 real-life stories of people who somehow predicted their own deaths through dreams, logic, or something even stranger. History is filled with stories of brilliant minds, people whose thoughts transcended their own time. But few have managed to predict their own inevitable fate, death, with mathematical precision. This is the story of a remarkable mathematician who turned even the final moments of his life into a solved equation, Abraham de Moivre. Born in 1667, de Moivre was a mathematician shaped by order and logic. He devoted his entire life to the world of numbers and probabilities, a world that, to him, embodied both truth and beauty. From the de Moivre formula to his invaluable contributions to the central limit theorem, every one of his achievements reflected a mind that analyzed even the slightest irregularities. This meticulous and structured mind would go on to astonish even in the face of life's greatest unknown, death. Years passed, and de Moivre reached the twilight of his life. Though he was occasionally invited to noble houses or academic gatherings to offer advice or solve complex problems, the youthful spark for deep research had faded. He spent most of his time resting, reading quietly, and, increasingly, sleeping. Sleep, which grew longer and longer with each passing day. At first, this increase in sleep seemed normal, a simple sign of aging. But the mind of a mathematician is not one to ignore patterns. De Moivre began to meticulously record the hours he slept. Each day, upon waking, he would note the time he fell asleep and the time he awoke. What he discovered shocked him and fascinated him. With each passing day, a terrifying yet mathematically precise pattern emerged. He was sleeping exactly 15 minutes more than the day before. An arithmetic progression, but with a deadly implication. The architect of numbers, once again, set his analytical mind to work. If this trend, this daily 15-minute increase, continues, then eventually a day will come when I sleep for the full 24 hours, and on that day, I will never wake up again. That is a mathematical certainty. Like solving a complex problem, he calculated his remaining time with astonishing precision. He assumed that, on that day, he was sleeping 8 hours. Each day added 15 minutes, or a quarter hour, to that total. The question was, how many days until my total daily sleep reaches 24 hours? Using flawless mathematical logic, he analyzed this growing sequence and arrived at a single number, approximately 64 days. With a strange and unbelievable calm, de Moivre lived out those 64 days. There was no fear, no struggle to stay awake. He visited friends, read books with a smile, and had no complaints about his deepening sleep. It was as though he had not only accepted his death, but welcomed it as the logical endpoint of a perfect calculation. It is even said that in his final days, with his signature serene smile, he confidently said, "De Moivre will soon enter full sleep, eternal sleep." And finally, on November 27, 1754, the exact day when his daily sleep, by his own precise calculation, reached a full 24 hours, Abraham de Moivre never woke up again. He had spent his life immersed in numbers, and in the end, he brought his death to a close with the same mathematical logic. It was night. The year, 1865. Darkness had cast its shadow over the American capital. And deep inside the White House, Abraham Lincoln, the weary and war-torn president, had sunk into a deep sleep. a sleep that would become the gateway to the most terrifying days of his future. This nightmare wasn't a fleeting illusion, but an experience so vivid that it jolted Lincoln awake in the middle of the night. Shaken and anxious, the next day he recounted it to two of the people closest to him: his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, and his longtime friend, Ward Hill Lamont. In the dream, I heard wailing and loud cries echoing through the halls of the White House. It felt so real, I thought I was awake. I got out of bed, my heart pounding wildly, and followed the sounds. Everywhere was silent, but the sorrowful cries seemed to bounce from every corner of the hallway. I walked toward the East Room, the hall used for formal ceremonies. I opened the door and saw a scene I will never forget. In the center of the room, dimly lit by torches, lay a body wrapped in the American flag inside a coffin. Surrounding it, a crowd of mourning citizens, all grieving in silence, and rows of solemn-faced soldiers standing in formation. My chest tightened. I walked toward one of the soldiers and asked, "Who has died? Why is everyone mourning?" The soldier, his voice heavy and his eyes filled with tears, pointed to the coffin and said, "The president. He was killed by a terrorist." A few days later, on the night of April 14th, 1865, while the nation was still reeling from the wounds of civil war, Lincoln's nightmare came true in the most horrifying way imaginable. At Ford's Theater, where he had gone for a moment of peace to watch a play, John Wilkes Booth, a fanatical actor and conspirator, approached from behind and shot him. And just as he had seen in his dream, Abraham Lincoln's body was brought back to the White House, and in that very same East Room, beneath that same flag, he was laid for the mourning nation to say their final goodbye to their fallen president. In the vast expanse of the cosmos, comets are not merely celestial bodies. Sometimes they are symbols of fate. And for one of the greatest humorists and writers in history, Mark Twain, that symbol was bound to his destiny. Samuel Langhorne Clemens, known to the world as Mark Twain, was born in 1835. That year didn't just mark the arrival of a literary genius, it also welcomed the return of a cosmic visitor, Halley's Comet. From early in his life, Twain sensed this strange connection. More than once, with his unique blend of humor and gravity, he spoke of it, as if he already knew his fate was tied to the comet's fiery tail. "I came in with Halley's Comet, and I expect to go out with it. It would be the greatest disappointment of my life if I don't go out with Halley's Comet." And in 1909, just a year before the comet's return, Twain, now at the height of his fame and in the twilight of his years, made the prediction again, with even greater certainty. "Halley's coming again next year, and I know I'm going with it. It will be the greatest joke of the Almighty if it doesn't happen. I hope to go out with it." And that is exactly what happened. In April 1910, Halley's Comet blazed once again across the night sky, and Mark Twain, just one day after the comet's closest approach to Earth, passed away at the age of 74. If you could know the exact time of your death, would you want to? Why or why not? If these stories fascinated you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments which one you found the most unbelievable.